Hey there, welcome back to another review, this time of a film that I really do believe is a classic. I think this is a great film for what it is, and that is Over the Top. I just recently picked up this Blu-ray. The film looks great in HD. Sounds really good too. I also still have the film on DVD because it's a movie that I've always been a big fan of. This is one of the first DVDs I remember ever buying, was this DVD of Over the Top. I walked all the way to Fred Meyer from my house when I was living with my grandmother in Portland, Oregon, around that area, more like Tigard. It's in Tigard area, Tigard, Oregon. I walked to the Fred Meyer, and I had some money, and I bought this. And as you can see, there's like some tape underneath right there because the sticker kind of ripped the bottom of the the DVD. So that's why I put some tape on underneath it. So I love the film so much, I'm keeping this DVD because for one, it holds a lot of memories. Because this piece of tape that's on the bottom here is, let's just say it's pretty old. I'd say it's almost I mean, this DVD came out in 2005, so and I remember buying it like pretty much when it first came out. So this is probably around. It's probably the DVD is probably about 10 years old now. And I'm a big fan of the film, and I'm just gonna keep this DVD because I just have a lot of memories of this DVD. And with Over the Top, I just want it on Blu-ray too because I love the movie. I want it on Blu-ray. So Over the Top is a film that, interestingly enough, uh, I didn't really see until I think it was like it was around like I was like in my preteens, so to speak. I didn't see it until then. But what's really interesting about that is I did hear the soundtrack though many times before I actually saw the movie. I was a big fan of the soundtrack because I got it on cassette tape at a Goodwill, and before I even saw the film, because I was just a big Stallone fan, and I was just like, oh, I've never really heard of this movie, and some good bands I like. I like Asia, some good singers that I like. Larry Green, who did music for Top Gun, he sang Through the Fire. And, then Sammy Hagar, Winner Takes It All. Kenny Loggins, who sang Danger Zone. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, I'll give this a look. And, I'll give this a listen. And I loved it. And I still love the soundtrack. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. It's right up there with Top Gun. I don't know, it's right up there with Top Gun and Navy SEALs for me. And it's definitely in the top five when it comes to my all-time favorite movie soundtracks. Now, then I saw the film because I went to the Hollywood Video, which is right next to the Costco, which is near my grandma's house in Tigard. It's no longer there because Hollywood Video doesn't exist anymore. But I went there to rent something with my stepdad, and I saw the title Over the Top, and I remember the soundtrack. I'm like, let's check out the movie. And my stepdad had seen it before, and he says, yeah, it's a pretty cool one. I remember liking that one. And so we watched it. I rented it on VHS actually, and we watched it on VHS together. And then I've also watched the film on DVD, this same DVD with my dad, with my real, with my my birth father, so to speak, not my stepdad. And so I've watched the film with not only with both my dads, so that's pretty cool. And they both enjoyed it, and I both had a good time, good memories watching it with them. Now, Over the Top is a 1987 sports drama. It's directed by Menahem Golan, who from the Canon Films. It's produced by him and Yoram Globus. So it was released through Warner Brothers, but it was a co-junction with Canon. And it's based on a screenplay by Sterling Silliphant and Sylvester Stallone. What's interesting about this screenplay is that the script was written by Sterling Silliphant, whom also collaborated with Bruce Lee and the Silent Flute, which would then go on to become the movie Circle of Iron, I believe. And Mr. Silliphant originally wrote Over the Top for Don Johnson of Miami Vice fame as his first big screen attempt while Miami Vice was so popular. Um, so I thought that was a little bit interesting bit of trivia. And Sterling Silliphant does a great job with the screenplay. I think his presence and his screenplay adds a lot to this film. I know a lot of people make fun of this movie and they're like, it's just ridiculous, oh, it's a drama about a father trying to reconnect with his son, but it also has arm wrestling. And I'm like, what makes this film and its plot any more ridiculous than Real Steel, which is a film that got praise and got thumbs up from critics? I really would like to know, because that movie has the same plot, and it's even more ridiculous because it's about a father who's trying to reconnect with his son, but then it also has robots boxing, boxing robots. That's more ridiculous than arm wrestling. Really? Seriously? This one gets a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics slammed it. It gets a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb. It gets a way low rate. It gets a lower rating than Real Steel on both sites. And Real Steel is a film that basically rips off this movie, does a bad job of it, is 10 times more ridiculous than it is. It isn't nearly as much fun, and the father is an asshole who was willing to sell his son. Really, he was willing to sell his son. In this film, Lincoln Hawk is not that kind of dad. He would never even remotely think about doing that. In fact, he beat some guys up who tried to take his son away from him. So this is not so why Real Steel gets the praise, but Over the Top gets the bashing, it gets the crap from critics. I really don't understand, but that's just me personally. If you like Real Steel more, that's fine. I have no problem with that. If you think Over the Top's not your film, that's cool. If you don't like it, that's cool. I just don't understand why this film has got such a bad reputation, which is interesting because if you think about it, the movie trailer kind of predicted that. This is like it's you know he's always had the odds against him, so it's like, oh, this movie is just like Over the Top. It always has the odds against it because the odds are always against this movie because it just it just has to do that uphill climb. But this film definitely does have a fan base though. It's a cult following. I mean, it's all over YouTube. One of my most viewed videos, my most viewed music video tribute is my tribute to Over the Top I did years ago with a song from the Iron Eagle soundtrack called Road to the Gypsy, and I think that has a lot of views. So I think that's pretty that's pretty good proof that this film has a cult following. There's different covers of the songs from the film, beautiful instrumental covers of songs from this film, like "Meet Me Halfway" by Kenny Loggins, and the song "In This Country," which was a really good song, which I really did like. I mean, "In This Country" is a great song. Um, "In This Country" by Robin Zander. So there's a lot of there's a lot of tributes. There's a lot of videos about it. I mean, I think Canon and Warner Brothers thought they had a huge hit on their hands. I could see why they thought they did. They was Stallone's next film after Rambo 2 and Rocky 4, two of the most successful films that he's ever done, if not of all time. Those films were huge. Rocky 4 to this day is still the most successful sports movie of all time, and his follow-up was Over the Top. And Sly even admitted, he was like, I don't know about this film, but like Cannon just kept giving him this money, and he was just like, yeah, yeah. He explained why he agreed to appear in the movie years after its release, saying that producer Menahem Golan kept offering him more and more money until he finally thought, what the hell, no one will see it. Which I think that's just doesn't show a lot of faith in the project at all. But I'm glad Sly did it though, because it's one of my favorites. It's definitely in the top 5 for me, or at least in the top 10 of my all-time favorite Sylvester Stallone films. I'm going to say this, although a lot of people won't agree with me, but this is my opinion. I like this more than the first Rocky. I really do. Nothing wrong with the first Rocky. I do like the film, but I just would absolutely rather watch Over the Top instead of Rocky anytime. It's just a very entertaining movie, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Um, it's got a good story to it, and I think it's got a good heart to it as well. He was reportedly paid $12 million to be in the movie, so yeah. But and Canon and Warner Brothers, and they all had all these. They had over the top action figures, an over the top arm wrestling table play set. I mean, all kinds of crazy shit. Like they thought this was gonna be huge, and I don't blame them because you know it's Sylvester Stallone's follow up to Rambo 2 and Rocky 4, but it wasn't. It only made 16 million on a budget of 25, so it was pretty much a bomb. It opened up third in the box office, and it couldn't beat out Mannequin. It could not beat out Mannequin of all things. I mean, that's really too bad. It could not beat out Mannequin and Outrageous Fortune or Platoon. It actually came out fourth place, not even third. It came out. It was released in almost. It was released in about 1,000. It was released in 1,758 theaters, and it took fourth place behind Mannequin, Outrageous Fortune, and Platoon. So that was a pretty big bomb for 1987. Um, Probably one of Stallone's least successful films financially. But for me, it's one of his best. I love his performance in this. I like the concept. I like the arm wrestling, and it's fast paced and it's fun. And for a lot of critics who think this movie is so bad, I really think you gotta. I really think you should think about it a little bit and realize that this could have been a lot worse. Considering it's about there's a big part of it's about arm wrestling. I think it could have been a lot worse. Because arm wrestling is a hard sport to really make exciting because it's just one, two, three, and you're done type thing. But Menahem, Golan, and the editors and everybody involved with this film did a great job making these arm wrestling sequences thrilling and exciting to watch. And the fact that you had this story behind it of Lincoln Hawk trying to reconnect with his son, trying to make up for lost time, and trying to prove to him that he can not only be a good father, but he can also love him, was also something that really helped the film work for me. Um, it also has absolutely gorgeous cinematography by David Gerfinkel. I don't think he's, not Garfunkel, but David Gerfinkel. Uh, you know, Weird last name or not, the guy was very talented. Some gorgeous shots. The shots of the country, while Lincoln's driving truck trying to get to the military academy celebration to pick up his son. It's beautiful shots of the countryside while Lincoln's driving his truck. Beautiful shots while him and his son are driving around the truck. Shots at night. Great shots at night. Gorgeous shot on the beach where Stallone is sitting on the back of his truck, you know, contemplating, thinking about things after he wasn't able to get to the hospital in time before his ex-wife died, and before the mother of his son that passed away. So then that kind of hurt his relationship with his son. And it was just a bunch of introspective, reflecting sort of sequence where he's just sitting on in the back of his truck, on the back of his truck, and because what it is, it's the trailer's off it, so he's just sitting in the back of it, and he's just looking out at the beach, looking out at the ocean, and just thinking about things. And I think it was at the sunset. It's a gorgeous shot. It's really a great looking shot. Cinematography in the arm wrestling tournament itself was really well done. The editing by James Simmons and Don Zimmerman was excellent. I really think it was excellent. It was excellent editing. And in a lot of ways, the editing is what helped make the arm wrestling sequences so intense and so thrilling and so much fun to watch. Because they're fast paced, they're quick cut, and it just worked really, really well. Um, the music by Giorgio Moroder, I love I love the slow piece of music, the adaptation of In This Country. I like it. I think he did a little bit of Meet Me Halfway at points as well. But I also love his original score piece of music that he did for the final, the arm wrestling final. It's called The Fight, and it's an excellent piece of music by Giorgio Moroder. It's great. Dun, 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 dun. It's a great piece of music. I know, speaking of score, Stallone, he said if he could redo the film, he'd make it more gritty and more realistic. And then instead of having rock music in Las Vegas, at the tournament, he'd have more traditional scored music. I disagree with him because Winner Takes It All by Sammy Hagar fits the sequence perfectly because he didn't like the fact that it felt like a carnival. Sly, it is a carnival. It's an arm wrestling tournament. If you look at the footage in this movie, how could you put serious music behind that? That would just be ridiculous. And it will be hard to have composed music to be as fast paced as a rock song like Winner Takes It All. Winner Takes It All fit that sequence perfectly. And you did have scored music in Las Vegas. It was The Fight by Giorgio Moroder. It was a great piece of music. It worked really well. So I don't think the film needed to be changed at all, really. So I definitely disagree with Stallone when it comes to that. Um, I think a lot of ways probably the film didn't do very well because of its release date. Why was it released in February? It was released on February 13th, 1987. I mean, this is a film that should have been released in the summer sometime. I mean, this is definitely a summer film. I mean, you release it in February. It doesn't show that you really have that much. I mean, literally a day before Valentine's Day. This Valentine's Day, go go see Over the Top because arm wrestling and is and truck driving is perfect entertainment for your significant other, and it's like it's a good date movie. Like what the hell was Canon and Warner Brothers thinking? But they're thinking like, oh, it's an arm wrestling movie, it's gonna flop. You have to show some faith in it. I mean, February is a terrible release date. I think August would have been a better release date, like late August. It would have gotten more of its audience, and it wouldn't have had as much competition. Because now you're trying to compete with Valentine's Day movies like Mannequin and Outrageous Fortune. It's an absolutely horrible release date. And the film is about 93 minutes, and it goes by really fast. It's one of the most fast-paced, entertaining movies that I can think of when it comes to the sports drama genre. It's one of my favorite sports dramas because of that, because it's so entertaining and it's so much fun to watch. But it also has a good heart and has a good message. I mean, the speech that Lincoln has is something that when he says that speech to his son, where he tells him, "The world meets nobody halfway. When you want something, you gotta take it. You gotta take it." That's inspirational, just like it is for any of these other speeches the Stallone's come up with for the Rocky films. And since it's doubly inspirational to me because my name's Mike. So whenever they have that scene where Stallone is talking to David Mendenhall, and he's talking to him, and he's telling him, the world meets nobody halfway. If you want something, you gotta take it. And it's like, I know you can do it, Mike. Come on. It's like he's speaking to me. I can totally put myself in that situation. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go over the top. And another thing, I love about the film so much is I really do like the arm wrestling. I really do. The arm wrestling makes the film stand out from all of these other sports dramas because it's the only arm wrestling movie. It's the only arm wrestling sports drama. There isn't another film like Over the Top when it comes to that. And it was refreshing to see arm wrestling instead of boxing or basketball or football or soccer or hockey, or any of these other things. It was refreshing to see arm wrestling. And this film stands out in the way that films like Rad or Winners Take All stand out because they're about BMX biking or about, motocross, dirt biking instead of, and this one's about arm wrestling. These are about the overlooked sports that you don't see very many movies made about. And that makes them stand out because there's a ton of boxing sports dramas. There's a ton of basketball sports dramas. There's a ton of football sports dramas. And there's even a ton of soccer sports dramas. But there aren't very many. There's only one arm wrestling sports drama, and it's Over the Top. And I love how even the title even the title works its way into the film because that's what Stallone does. He goes over the top. Like that's his move. Like he finds a way to get leverage on the thumb and just go over the top. I mean, I thought that was pretty cool too. And it even makes a way into lyrics of some of the songs, like the song at the end by Larry Green, which is a great song. He did a lot of good songs for this. I like Mind Over Matter, and he did Take It Higher, which is a great song. Take it higher, fight with fire, and then over the top. You see, I love the movie because I'm just I know the soundtrack by heart pretty much, and it's a movie I can watch over and over again and never get tired of it. I watched this 3 times recently in the span of 1 month, and I still loved it every time. It was so entertaining each time. That's a testament of a good film to me. A film that stands the test of time is a movie I can watch over and over again and not get tired of. Um, yeah. So we get to the cast. Of course, you have Sylvester Stallone who plays Lincoln Hawk or Hawks. That switches, which is weird. I mean, I call him Hawk. Robert Loggia, who sadly he's passed away. May he rest in peace. He played Jason Cutler, Mike's grandfather. He plays a good hard ass, but that's just Robert Loggia for you. I'll definitely miss him. I think he's definitely an underrated actor because he wasn't just an actor who could play a good villain or a good asshole. He also could play a good, kind-hearted character as well, like he did in the movie Big. So I think a lot of ways Robert Loggia, later in his career, I think he was very underrated as an actor because he just basically took a lot of these roles as the villain or the bad guy or something like that. And he had the Family Guy joke that basically just portrays him as nothing but a hard ass, and he was more flexible than that. He was more capable than that. He could do other roles, and I think he was definitely very underrated and undervalued for that. So he may definitely rest in peace. And this is one of my favorite roles from him. It was a perfect role for him, and he was an asshole. You didn't like him, but at the same time, when Link won the arm wrestling tournament, he was man enough to, okay, this is the way things should be. Mike's gonna go be with his dad. So, he's definitely proven me wrong. So he's basically the antagonist of the film, and Stallone's definitely the protagonist. I mean, there's that great scene where he's trying to buy him off in Vegas, trying to take this truck, take this money, and get out of my life. Get out of here. Leave, because you're a loser. You've always been a loser. All you want is a free ride. And he's like, oh, just take the money, take the truck, and get out of here. And go build your own family. And he's like, I have a family. It's like, no, this is my family. No, this is my, he's my grandson. It's all that I have left. And then, Stallone's like, I have a family. And when this is over, I'm coming to get him. And they're like, ooh, and then Terry Funk gets in his way, Robert Loggia's bodyguard, and Stallone just gives him this, just fuck you, shoves him through a fucking window, through a window or a door. I love that. He's just like, get out of my way, Terry Funk. Throws him through the, because he had to have some action. I mean, it's a Stallone movie. So you have stuff like that where he just throws Terry Funk through that window, through the door or whatever. Just a nice little, I love it. It's great. It's a crowd pleasing moment. It's just like, get the fuck out of my way, Terry Funk. I got an arm wrestling tournament to win, and I got to win my son. That I'm gonna win, and then I'm gonna win my son too. Because that's what he had. He put everything at stake in that final match in the tournament. He did. He put his livelihood because he sold his truck, and he put all the money. He bet all the money on himself. So if he lost, he lost everything. He lost not only every bit of money that he had left, but he also loses his son. So he has everything to gain in this film and also everything to lose in this tournament. So that really raises the stakes. And it's definitely something that a lot of people would consider cliched, but I can't think of very many films like this that have that underlying plot line where it's the father is trying to reconnect with his son on a road trip and trying to build a relationship back up with him. Things don't go as well as would have hoped. He takes things too far when he drives the truck onto his grandfather's property. Cool moment. And even it's a truck driver's fantasy. Like, even my stepdad, who's a truck driver, he's like, I would love to do that. It's like every truck driver probably sees that scene. It's like, oh man, I would love to do that. Just take my semi and just fucking plow through a block gate and just smash into somebody's front yard. But no, we can't do that. You get arrested for that kind of thing. And of course, that's what happens. And then you have the whole thing where Lincoln has to, try to see if he can win the tournament without his son, and he knows that's not going to happen. But then his son comes back as he finds out that, all the letters that he sent him were for real, and his grandfather was an asshole and just hid him from him all those years. And then he steals a car and then goes to the airport and gets to Vegas. It's totally 80s, but I don't care. And then he's there at the tournament, and he's the one that builds Stallone back up. He hurt his arm. Hawk hurt his arm, and here he's there. Here his son is there telling him the same speech. You remember when you told me, you know, the world meets nobody halfway. You want something, you gotta take it. Now get up there, win. I love you, Dad. It's sappy, but it works. It works. It's effective. It may be sappy, but it's still effective. So, and speaking of that, David Mendenhall, who plays Mike, early on when I first saw it, I thought his performance was kind of uneven, but after multiple viewings, and I've seen other kid actors since then, I think it's great. I think it's a great performance. I don't think he deserved a Razzie Award at all. I don't think Stallone deserved one either. Yeah, David Mendenhall won 2 Razzie Awards for Worst Supporting Actor and Worst New Star. And Stallone was nominated, but he lost to Bill Cosby for Leonard Part 6. He's not that bad. I think he actually did a really good job. Um, David Mendenhall did a good job showing emotion in the sequences that he needed to, like at the funeral of his mom. And he was a likable kid. At first he was kind of a dick because, he was spoiled, rich kid, in a military school type thing. But as the film went on, he developed more of a personality, and it was a good performance. I don't think it was that bad at all. Speaking of Stallone, he didn't deserve that nomination at all, because this is one of his more underrated performances for me. Because he manages to deliver a performance in this that is different than a lot of his other performances. Lincoln Hawk is not just a Rocky clone. And a lot of people think this is Rocky with arm wrestling. I disagree with that. Rocky is like an idiot savant in a lot of ways. Because of the way that he, speaks, and he's got words of wisdom and stuff, but he's thick in the head. Lincoln Hawk's just a normal guy. He just has some, nice words of wisdom every now and then. But he's not thick in the head or anything. He's a normal guy with a normal intelligence. And there's something really sweet about his character. He's sensitive, he's kind, he's warm-hearted, but he can definitely turn a switch and get tough when he needs to be. And he's believable in both roles. He's believable as the intimidating, presence that he needs to be. Beat up some guys to get his son back, or moments when he decides to arm wrestle, where shit gets real, because and he's believable there too. But at the same time, he's also really believable as this shy, introverted, kind, warm-hearted guy who just wants to reconcile things with his son more than anything in his life. He wants to win the arm wrestling tournament, but that's secondary. I mean, he just wants he wants to be with his son, and he wants to make things work. So, yeah, I don't think his performance is terrible at all in this. I think it's actually one of his better performances. I think it's a very underrated performance by Stallone. The rest of the cast does a great job too. I mean, Susan Blakely is in it a little bit, but she's there as Christina Hawk, and she does a good job of what she's asked to do. But Rick Zumwalt is awesome. He pretty much, he's the villain, and he almost steals the show, really. I love Rick Zumwalt as Blaster, as Bull Harley, because that's what he says on his shirt. It says Blaster, but his name is Bull Harley. And I love him. He's a great villain. Now, he wasn't the first choice, though, because Stallone actually wanted to go with the actual arm wrestling champion at the time. But, because Bull Harley was the studio's third choice for Stallone's rival. They originally wanted arm wrestling champion Cleve Dean, but he was too massive as compared to Stallone that it wouldn't have looked believable. So they went with professional wrestler Ox Baker. Baker didn't pan out, though, and the role went to Zumwalt. And Zumwalt's also another actor who sadly is no longer with us. I thought he was a great presence. He was intimidating. It was also fun to watch, calling everybody, shit, and he, is like, I'm gonna break your shitting arm off. It's rated PG, so they couldn't say I'm gonna break your fucking arm off because that would be like an R rating. So I like how he threw in the shitting instead, because you don't hear that very often. You really don't. Shitting instead of effing. And I love, in the arm wrestling match with him and Stallone, he's like, I own you! You know, I'm gonna take him down. He's going down. He's going down. It's definitely a villain you love to hate. I also love these segments during the tournament where they interview the arm wrestlers, and Bo Harley speaking. He's like, I drive truck, break arms, and arm wrestle. It's what I love to do. It's what I do best. Being number one is everything. There is no second place. Second sucks. I love how just to the point he is. It just is not gonna mess around. To the point. That's it. And you got other fun stuff like John Grizzly, who also loved. I'm gonna go through him like gas through a funnel. Oh, he's fucking swallowing motor oil. And it's like when I get to the table, that person, I don't care who they are. They're my mortal enemy. I hate them. and even Hawk, which I love. Of course, this is a great scene. Where he's like, what I do is just try to take my hat and I turn it around, and it's like a switch that goes on. And when that switch goes on, I feel like another person. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like a truck, like a machine. Yeah. So that's awesome too. And I also love that too. Like when he's really gonna get going. He's really gonna kick some ass. It's okay. It's time. And that's kind of what I do. Like when flip my hat around. It's like it's time to go over the top. So I love that about him too as well. So and even Harley continues with this one where this good quote where he's all like, he's talking about Hawk. He's like, he doesn't even belong on my arm wrestling table. That's my area. That's my game. He's got no shit in business there. All I want to do is hurt him, cripple him, get him off the table, so he never dares try to compete against me again. And then the actual arm wrestling, the final bout between Stallone, between Hawk and Bull is really enthralling, really entertaining, really thrilling stuff. It was really well shot and really well done. And it was actually done for real. Because to make the movie seem as authentic as possible, Stallone told the guy playing Bull not to take it easy on him when it was time for them to shoot the final scene of their match together. And the guy laughed about the idea, but he still agreed to do so, even though he warned Stallone that it may hurt him. And Stallone made him eat those words when he beat him for real. And everything in that scene is authentic except for close-up shots of their face that were done later due to injuries that both men suffered while the scene was being filmed. Stallone suffered a strained forearm, while Bill Harley's character, Rick Zumwalt, he suffered a dislocated shoulder. So the cry from him that you can hear when Stallone is pulling his arm down at the end is a real thing. That's when it happened. So if you think that's kind of like over the top, like him going, Aah! It was actually, he was screaming in real pain because Stallone fucking dislocated his shoulder. Because when you watch that scene now, knowing that, it has a whole different feeling now. It's just like, it was for real. It was like, and the punch that Bull Harley gave Hawk during the final match that made his nose bleed was also real. Stallone told Rick to do it, but he didn't give him a cue point in which to do it, meaning Stallone never knew when it was going to happen, so that his reaction would be authentic to the hit. And Stallone stated that he took more punishment in trying to be authentic in this movie by taking actual hits, such as this one and the arm wrestling professionals that were hired for the film, than he did in any of the Rocky films. So he took more of a beating in this than he did in any of the Rocky films, which I thought was pretty crazy. And you can kind of see it now when you see certain shots in the film. The arm wrestling tournament sequences, I love it. I can watch that sequence over and over again. I love the way it's shot. I love the way it's edited. It's so quick. It's fast paced. It's fun. And what's really cool about it too, it's a tournament. This is Stallone's one and only tournament movie. Rocky films aren't tournament movies. This is a tournament film. And I really like that. I thought that's pretty cool to see him in a tournament film, you know? And I don't need to be over the top right now. I'm just put my hat back on the right way. But yeah, it's his only tournament movie. And that's really unique and really fun to see because he fights not one, different, not one opponent, but multiple opponents all in one night. So it's in a way, it's kind of like Stallone's Bloodsport, but without, the martial arts. It's arm wrestling instead, and that's really fun. That's some fun stuff. I like tournament films too, so that's another thing this film has going for it. Um, I really don't know what else to say about the film. I mean, I don't really need to go through the plot in depth. It's a very simple plot. It's another thing I like about it. It's straightforward and to the point. Just about as straightforward and to the point as Rick Zumwalt's character Bull Harley is. Um, it's just a simple story of a father trying to reconnect with his son and make up for lost time and prove to him that he can be, who he can raise him, he can take care of him, and he can be reliable. And, the drama between his grandfather trying to take the custody of him away from his real father because he thinks his father is a bum and he always thought he was a bum. And then of course the drama dealing with his ex-wife who's sick, and then she sadly passes away before Stallone is able to get him and his son to the hospital. So his son blames him for that, and not being able to be there for his to see his mom before she died. So you get that drama. Stallone takes it Hawk takes it too far, drives through his grandfather's front door pretty much, and gets arrested. Stallone tries to get him to come with him, but he decides no, I'm gonna stay with my grandfather. Stallone, Hawk sells everything he has, puts everything on the line in Las Vegas in the arm wrestling tournament, and then his son finds out that his dad was not lying to him about all the things he sent to him and all the letters and everything, and goes in and be in his dad's corner, and against the odds, Lincoln Hawk wins it all. He wins the truck, and he wins the arm wrestling tournament, and you could say it's cliched and predictable, but it doesn't mean it isn't entertaining, because it is. It's a hell of an entertaining movie, and it's a lot of, and it's got like I've said a million times, I'm gonna say it again. It's got a great heart to it, and that goes a long way for me. And you definitely do root for Hawk. You want him to win. You have good villains. The arm wrestling tournament is really fun to watch and different. The way it's shot is exciting and thrilling, and it stands out from. I really do think it stands out from a lot of the rest of these type of films because it's got the whole storyline with him trying to get relationship with his son going, and then arm wrestling. And Stallone's also a truck driver, so it's nice to see this blue collar aspect from Stallone that you really don't see from any of his other characters, other than maybe his character in Copland. For the most part, he's kind of plays larger than life characters. Uh, Other than the arm wrestling stuff, Lincoln Hawk's not really larger than life. I mean, on the poster he looks like it, but really he's not. He's just a normal guy who's trying to make up for mistakes in his life and trying to get back together with his son and at the same time win an arm wrestling tournament. I mean, it's really simple and straightforward, and that's a plus for the film because it doesn't have any moments where it bogs down, where it gets boring, or where it gets pretentious or anything like that. It never gets to that point. Um, so yeah, I really don't know what else to say about the film. I pretty much said everything there is I can possibly say about the movie. I think it's a well-directed movie. I think Menahem Golan's direction is very underrated. He did a great job directing this movie. I've heard maybe Stallone might have directed it, and either or whoever directed it did a great job. The editing is well done, the cinematography, the music. I love the soundtrack. It's a fast-paced film. I don't really find anything wrong with it. I really don't. I find nothing wrong with this film. So that's why if it's rated out of 5 stars, I'm gonna give 5 out of 5. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that, but it's my opinion, and I don't find anything wrong with this movie. I've seen it 3 times, and it's still as great each time. I mean, as it was the first time. So, in fact, I've grown to love it even more than I did originally. The first time I saw it, I liked it, but as the years have gone by and with more and more viewings, I've learned to really, really love this movie and appreciate it a lot. And I think it's an underrated, I think it's a very underrated film. I think it's an underrated classic in its own right. I really do. So I really don't know what to say, except thank you for watching my review of Over the Top, and I will see you guys later. See ya.